So, Dr. Fauci, you've been at the NIH, I think, since the mid-1980s. Advised 6 presidents, have been through SARS and Ebola. Where does this stack up, the coronavirus, in terms of the threat relative to some of those other outbreaks?
Well, those other outbreaks actually eventuated and became real. This is something that's still evolving. It's obviously had a devastating effect in China. The impact on the rest of the world is still a work in progress. We've seen over the last couple of weeks that other countries like Japan, Korea, Italy, Iran are starting to have community-based transmissions where you have sustained transmission from person to person. That becomes a big threat for the rest of the world because if, in fact, it evolves into a pandemic, then every country, including the United States, is going to get impacted.
Is there any talk of closing flights from Europe or flights from Asia outside of China, like what we did with China?
No, I don't think at all that will happen. And that's one of the things. When you have a pandemic that involves multiple countries, travel restrictions become almost irrelevant because you can't keep out the entire world. When it was focused only on China, we had a period of time, temporary, that we could do a travel restriction that prevented cases from coming into the United States. But when you have multiple countries involved, it's very difficult to do that. In fact, it's impossible.
What's your sense of the level of cases right now in the United States? I mean, is it possible that they could be way more than what's been officially counted and released because of testing procedures?
You know, that's possible, but really remotely possible. We've done a very good job in containing the travel-related cases that we've had. We've had 12 plus 2 that were the spouses who got infected. And we brought in over 30 individuals from the Diamond Princess cruise ship. We don't appear to have any other secondary transmissions. Certainly, there's the possibility that there are some under the radar screen, but I really think that's a remote possibility and not a real one.
Dr. Fauci, what, if anything, can you tell us with confidence that you've learned about the virus, whether it's the death rate or transmission rates or vulnerable populations? What can you sort of tell us with some confidence so we can understand it better?
Sure. Well, that's a good question. There are things that we know with some confidence and there are things that we know with a good deal of confidence. What we know for the good deal of confidence is that this virus spreads very efficiently and rapidly among humans. It's not one that has difficulty going from human to human. Number 2, overwhelmingly, the people who get into serious trouble, who get desperately ill and sometimes die, are generally elderly individuals and individuals who have underlying disease, heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, obesity, and things like that. That we know for sure.
Doctor, I'd love to ask you about money. Azar is in front of the House this morning. He says that the Rapid Response Fund, in his words, is already committed or obligated. The White House looking for 2.5. Schumer's talking more 8.5. Do you have a number that makes sense?
Well, you know, when the secretary was talking about the $2.5 billion, that was really a start, a down payment. We need that now, and hopefully we'll get it. But I think in the future, as we get into the next fiscal year, there certainly will be additional requirements.
So we've been watching the numbers every night out of China, Dr. Fauci, and they have trended lower. I mean, there's definitely an improvement there. What do you attribute that to? And is it something that we could do here in the United States if the numbers start to pick up?
Well, the Chinese have been extraordinary in the measures that they put into place. I mean, they've shut down major cities, locked down 55 million people, including the 11 million people in Wuhan, a city in Hubei province. That's very draconian methods. I mean, certainly we hope that we never get to the point where we had the situation here that we've had in China. But I doubt we would do that. There would be other ways to mitigate. The Chinese have been very dramatic in what they've done.
How would you advise viewers to absorb and process the conflicting rhetoric between certainly Larry Kudlow on our air yesterday when he said we've contained this, I won't say airtight, but pretty close to airtight, versus the CDC, versus the president this morning saying the USA is in great shape.
Well, you know, in many respects, when you look carefully at those statements, they're not as contradictory as you might think. When you look at what's happening today in the United States, the cases we have are well contained and well controlled. I believe that's what Larry was referring to. That's what the president was referring to. When you talk about what the CDC was saying, and I agree with them, that even though it's well contained now, what's going on in the rest of the world is making it look more and more like we will have something that either is or approaches a pandemic. And if we do, we need to be prepared as to what steps we'll take to mitigate that. And that's what the CDC was saying, that if it happens, we need to do this, this, and this. So in some respects, there wasn't as much, contradiction there as people thought.
But it doesn't sound like you would have gone with the verb contain.
Well, I mean, contained for the present now, but I feel clearly the way the CDC does that there are dangerous things that are going on out there in other countries, and that will have an impact on our country no matter what we do.
Is there any evidence that it spreads on surfaces? Is that a way to contract it?
Likely there is some spread that way. Viruses generally don't live very long, for example, on doorknobs or on screens. There may be some, I think, minor component of that, but that's not the major way it's spread.
There also, Dr. Fauci, is a belief that come spring or warmer temperatures that the virus will die down, if not die out. Is that correct?
Well, we don't know if it will, but the concept of viruses like influenza or even some of the coronaviruses of diminishing when the weather gets warm is not an unreasonable concept, because it happens every year with influenza and it happens with some of the coronaviruses. The wild card here is that this is a brand new virus, this novel coronavirus, and we do not know whether it's going to diminish as the weather gets warm. We can't count on that.
Understood. And finally, we've been telling people, because I've been hearing, don't shake hands. Eliminate that as a behavior. Some people laugh and say, well, that's not really going to do much. But Dr. Fauci, would that actually help take down the rate of transmission?
No, I think it would. It's the same thing as washing your hands. I mean, by not shaking hands is in many respects the same as washing your hands frequently so you don't have transmission back and forth. So when you're in the middle of an outbreak of influenza or whatever, you should try as best as possible not to shake hands so much, or if you do, wash your hands frequently.
And Dr. Fauci, you gave us some hope on a vaccine, which you say is moving rapidly through the testing, phase 1 trials, or at least going toward that direction. Anything else you can tell us about how quickly that could happen? And do you think the Chinese could make something like that happen even more quickly?
No, I doubt if anyone could do it more quickly. I mean, we're going to go into a phase 1 trial in about a month and a half, 2 months, which is the fastest anyone has ever done it. But going into a phase 1 trial for safety doesn't mean that you have a vaccine that you could deploy widely to 10, 20, 30, 100 million people. So that's going to take at least a year to a year and a half to get to that point, no matter how fast we go.
And you think that the virus will still be with us at that point?
It might. I don't think that a vaccine is going to be applicable for what we're going through now over the next several months. But if this cycles and comes back next year, then having a vaccine a year and a half from now will be very applicable.